another amazing shirt. Bonjour, darling! Now, today I come back to you with another tag, a history of my bookshelf tag. I was tagged by TB Kane on his channel, and I will link his video down below along with the original video of that tag. There are normally around 26-25 questions on the tag, but I had to cut some of them down because I didn't have an answer and I didn't want to drag the video too long. Now, let's start. Question number 1. The oldest book on your shelf, and that would be The Two Towers by J.R.R. Tolkien. It's an 1972 edition. It's in French, of course. You will understand later why I have this book. It was bought second-hand, and I don't have the entire series in one big book right now because my bookshelf is separated into two different cities. The one at my parents here in Marseille and the one at my ex-boyfriend in Montpellier. So I have an edition with all the books in, but it's not here. So right now, it is the oldest book on my Marseille's shelf. Question number 2. A book you read in 2013. And that would be A Cuckoo's Calling by Robert Galbraith, aka J.K. Rowling. Robert Galbraith is J.K. Rowling's pseudonym pen name for her mystery thriller books following Cormoran Strike, a private detective, and his associate. So, L'Appel du Coucou, A Cuckoo's Calling, is following the case of the death of Lula Landry, a really popular top model that was maybe murdered. And I won't say more because it's a mystery. So, yeah. I really liked that book. It was interesting, but upon rereading it, I have had a more complicated relationship with Mr. Strike regarding his vision of women. So it's a complicated reread for now, and I haven't picked the last two books in the series. I don't remember if there are 4 or 5 out. I don't remember anymore. A book you read in 2014 would be The Silkworm, the second book in the series of Cormoran Strike, and Outsider by Claire Delis. Claire Delis is a YouTuber here. If I remember, I will link her channel down below, and the website on which she puts her book, because it's available for free on the internet, which is amazing. A book I read in 2015. In those years, I haven't read a lot, so I will say A Career of Evil, which is the third book in the Cormoran Strike saga. And in 2016, I read Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, which I'd rather not remember or talk about because I hated it. To me, this is just a bad fan fiction that managed to be published. I will not talk about that book. A book I read in 2017. I chose another book that I don't have here, that is in Montpellier, like all the books I've talked about up until now. It's Undercover Princess by Connie Glynn, another YouTuber. It is a book about a really posh boarding school called Rosewood Hall, in which a girl, Lottie Pumpkin, managed to go. And it's a school that is usually attended by children of really rich and royal families. And she's obsessed by fairy tales, by princesses and princes, and she managed to go to this school, and she will meet a lot of different people, and a mystery will unveil throughout her year in the school. It was a really cute YA contemporary with a tad element of magical realism that I quite liked. I enjoyed it. It's a light read, perfect for summer, and I really recommend it. I haven't yet read the 2 other books in the series. I think they are called Princess in Training and The Lost Princess. I really hope I can manage to find time to read them, because they are, as I said, it's a really light read, it's a really comfortable read. The characters are quite interesting and I really like that. So yeah. A book you read in 2018. To make up for my missing books, since they are in another city, I chose 2. I chose Keeper by Kim Chance and The Savior's Champion by Jenna Morrissey. So, Keeper by Kim Chance is an urban fantasy in which a girl discovers she has magical ancestry and that she's the keeper of a special grimoire that she must protect from a really dark magician. And The Savior's Champion is an adult dark fantasy with some romance aspects, in which a boy called Tobias must attend a tournament to win the hand of the savior who is their ruler, and she has come of age and she must find her husband, so her father organized, as the tradition wants, as the traditions go, a tournament to win her hand. It's really grim. It's really... There is a lot of cursing, a lot of blood, and some really steamy scenes. So if you don't like that, don't go in. But it's still one of the best books I've read in the year of 2018, along with Keeper, who is more YA, who is a faster read and has a lot of really interesting characters that you love to follow. 2 really good books that I highly recommend, wrote by fellow author-tubers Kim Chance and Jenna Morrissey. 8. A book you read in 2019. So again, I chose 2 books. I chose Seeker which is the second book in the duology by Kim Chance. I already gave you the synopsis of the series. I won't say more because I don't want to spoil you the first book by giving the synopsis of the second one. Still a really good book. I read it really fast and I've really enjoyed myself. I still recommend it highly, highly, highly. Kim Chance is really talented. And a book that I struggled with in English, so I read it in French because it's a classic. It's Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. So it's a domestic thriller in which a woman whose name we never learn and who is only 19 falls in love with a 40 years old man that he's a widower, and she ends up marrying a really rich man, even though she has very little education, very little knowledge of the world of the rich. And she realizes really soon that everyone is obsessed with the late wife of her new husband, and she was named Rebecca, the title of the book. And it's a book filled with really flawed characters, and I had a lot of struggles with the main character because she never stands up for herself, never ever. And I know she's really young, but it was really frustrating to me. I still enjoyed the book. The mystery aspect of it is good. The antagonists are amazing. They are frightening and really tortured and really twisted, and I really love that. So yeah, highly recommend Rebecca. Question 9, a book you've read more than once. I chose the obvious answer and I chose Harry Potter à l'école des sorciers, or Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Actually, if you translate directly the title from French to English, it's Harry Potter and into the Wizarding School. So it has nothing to do with the stone, and I never understood why when I learned the original title, but hey, whatever. I won't give you the synopsis of that book. Everyone knows it, and I've read it so many times. I actually see there is some plastic wrapping around it to protect it because I've read it so many times. It's one of my favorite books of all times, and I read it at least, I would have said once a year, but since it's been a few years since I've read a little bit less and wrote a little bit more, I have less time for rereads, so at least once every 2 years, every couple of years, I read the entire series all over again. So yeah, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. A book you read on vacation away from home, and it's a book I read this year. It's titled Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. I made a really emotional review. It's by Benjamin Alire Sáenz. I hope I say that right. Benjamin Alire Sáenz. I think it's the correct pronunciation. I'm not sure. It's a story, a really queer story about two boys first becoming friends and then falling in love little by little. It's also a story about how to be a parent to a teenager. It's also a story on how to be a good friend. It's a story on how to learn and talk to the people you love. It's one of the most beautiful books I've ever read, and I'm getting emotional as I'm talking about it because I've cried so much while reading this book. It's a masterpiece, and I highly recommend it. Another book that made me cry, it's the 11th, well, for me, 11th question, a book that made you cry. So I didn't choose this one because I had another one this year that made me cry. It was Sadie by Courtney Summers. Sadie is the story of a teenage girl whose sister has been murdered, and she is sure she knows by whom. So she escapes from her home and goes after the man that took her little sister. You also follow a man who makes a podcast about Sadie and is looking for her while she's on her road trip. Really emotional, really intense, a lot of trigger warnings for child abuse and violence, drug use. Sorry, I mixed the French and English word. Drug use. So yeah, lots of trigger warnings, but a book that I highly recommend still especially the audio. I don't have it here because I listened to it on audio. And since there is a podcast, as I said, there is a man looking for Sadie doing a podcast, and you have the podcast format on the audiobook with a full cast. So I especially recommend the audio version of it. It's amazingly done, and it will, I think, touch you really deeply if you can go past the trigger warnings. 12, a book you read in one sitting. I chose, it's the French edition, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them by J.K. Rowling. It's kind of a fake school book from the Harry Potter universe, a short version of it because I imagine the real one would be way bigger. So it's short. When you buy it, you give money to 2 or 3 charities. 2 charities, Comic Relief and Lumos, that take care of children and teenagers to find them homes and to take care of all their basic needs, basically. So yeah, and it's interesting. It's a little dive inside the world. You learn more about beasts from all around the world that J.K. Rowling imagined or reimagined from real folklore, and I really loved it. A book that was a gift that I haven't finished yet, sadly, because right after Sadie and my hospitalization, I just couldn't keep with it, is The Hate to Give by Angie Thomas. The Hate to Give, it's a book about racism. It's a book about a policeman that kills a teenager in front of his friend called Star, and how Star deals and cope with the death of her friend. He was unarmed, he wasn't doing anything wrong, and he was just murdered in front of her by a cop. So, still, a lot of trigger warnings. Star is a really is a character that has a really complicated life because she's the daughter of an old gangbanger that pays for her to go to a private white school whilst she still lives in the neighborhood, in the hood. So she's torn between her roots and where she goes to school and who she lives with on a day-to-day basis. So it's really hard for her to cope and to grieve her friend. So yeah, I hope I will finish it soon. I just couldn't read about grief at the moment. A book you read before owning. Okay, it's a really big book. It's the entirety of Molière's work. If you don't know, Molière is a playwright from the 17th century, a French man, and he's so well known and renowned and talentuous. He was, so talentuous and well known and renowned still, that the French language is nicknamed Molière's, la langue de Molière, Molière's tongue, Molière's language. So I read the entirety of his work from the school library and from school books, and then I was gifted this amazing book, this amazing edition. There is something on it. Okay. This amazing edition, it's one of the most beautiful books I own. Like, look at it. It's just beautiful. I should be careful. This is Molière. So yeah, really big book, really beautiful, and I love it. I love Molière. He makes me laugh, he makes me cry, he makes me go, huh? So a lot of different emotion, and it's not for nothing that French is called langue de Molière. A book you lent to someone else. A book I lent a lot was Uglies by Scott Westerfeld. This is a YA dystopian book in which people are categorized by beauty and in which plastic surgery has become a really important part of society. You have to be beautiful to be someone. You have to, otherwise you won't go anywhere in your life. Really interesting setting. I really liked it, but I never finished the series. I don't know why, even though I lent it to a lot of people because it was really interesting. I never finished it. Maybe I should reread it to see if I still like it and finish the series. I don't know. A book that has been damaged. So this is a book that I bought when I was a young teen, a pre-teen actually, that I lent to one of my cousins that I really loved. This is my first complete edition of The Lord of the Rings, illustrated by Alan Lee. Yeah, it's painful. I still keep it because it means a lot to me. That's why I have another edition that I bought and I keep in Montpellier. A book you got on sale or discounted. The third book of Les Misérables by Victor Hugo. Uh, I chose this one because like for the Lord of the Rings, I have multiple editions and they are all mixed, and this one I got discounted. It's so old that I actually couldn't take the tabs off because it would destroy the cover when I tried to. So yeah. Les Misérables de Victor Hugo, Les Mis. And everyone knows about this story, I think. It follows a really, really large cast of characters that have miserable lives. A man that just got out of prison, a young girl that got adopted and is mistreated, and blah, blah, blah. So, I think everyone knows Les Mis, so don't need to say more. A book you associate with a specific time in your life. Another of my pretty books. Beautiful books. It's the Tales of Andersen, in French edition, of course, by les éditions Delville. I associate it with childhood and me learning to read when I was around 4 or 5. It's really old. I really love it. I really took care of it. The spine isn't even broken, even though my family has had it ever since I was a child. So there is The Little Mermaid. There is, I think there is everything. There is, I don't know the English titles. You know, The Princess and the Peas. The Snow Queen, the actual Snow Queen from Frozen, the real tale, not the, you know, Disneyfied version of it. The tale in which the Snow Queen is actually the baddie. So yeah, there is all of it. 20. For me, it's the last question because, as I said, I had to take some questions off because I didn't have an answer. The newest book on your shelf is the French edition of Miss Bond, The Final Empire. Fils des Brumes, l'Empire Ultime. I don't know why it's called Fils des Brumes, Son of the Mist, since the main character seems to be a girl. Like, why, French people? But maybe I will understand when I read it. Who knows? Maybe the girl is not the Miss Bond we all talked about after all. I don't know. I don't know. I haven't read it yet. I am a fan of Daniel Green, a YouTuber that loves the Miss Bond trilogy, and I still manage not to get spoiled, except on a little bit on the magic system. So yeah, that was the tag. I hope you liked it. There were a lot of books, there were a lot of missing books, I talked a lot. I hope it doesn't take too long for me to edit this on my phone. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to be notified of any of my new videos. You can also follow me on social media. All links down below in the description box. And as always, au revoir darling!